The Europa League draw has just been made during the ad break. They snuck away with doing the draw without us, but luckily we're here to tell you Man United are going to take on Sevilla. Juventus will face Sporting. It's Bayer Leverkusen against Saint-Gilloise, and Feyenoord up against Roma. We've got Kevin Hatchard, who's in the studio with us. We're going to find out about who will be facing who in the semi-finals as well. But just getting your initial reaction there. Manchester United, what do you think about them up against Sevilla, the most successful in the Europa League of the teams left, but how are they faring this season?
Not well. I think United will look at that and be fairly pleased with it. They've avoided Juventus, they've avoided Roma and Jose Mourinho and all the drama and distraction that brings. I think drawing Sevilla is fine. Yes, Sevilla have knocked United out of Europe a couple of times in recent years in different competitions. This is not the same Sevilla team. They've finally been snagged by the fact they've constantly sold their best players. We've seen Diego Carlos go to Villa, Jules Koundé go to Barcelona. They've lost other top players over the years. They've been battling relegation for most of this season.
And they will take on, if United get through, Juventus or Sporting in the semis, we have just learned. What do you think about that?
That's a lot tougher because Juventus are hard to beat. If they hadn't had the points deduction they'd had this season, they'd be bang in the mix for Champions League qualification. They've been effective without being much fun in this competition so far, but that's what they do under Max Allegri, and Chiesa is back from injury, so that's dangerous. We saw how well Sporting played against Arsenal last night. They played with such control, such bravery, and they have genuine match winners in that team. So whoever comes out of that quarter-final, that, for me, will be a much tougher test than Sevilla will pose. We
were all wondering who Union Saint-Gilloise would get, and it is Bayer Leverkusen. They'll be enjoying that, won't they?
Yeah, they'll feel they've got an opportunity. They've just knocked out Union Berlin, and they've just done it pretty comprehensively, truth be told. And Bayer Leverkusen have a higher ceiling than Union Berlin, but they are a bit more flaky. They're a bit more inconsistent under Xabi Alonso. He's trying to get them to play with more control, breathtaking at times in attack, vulnerable in defence.
And how do you think Mourinho will be feeling about destroying Feyenoord for Roma?
I think he'll be wary because he'll see what Feyenoord just did to Shakhtar Donetsk. You know, they've just beaten them 7-1 in the second leg. Feyenoord's atop of the Eredivisie in the Netherlands, got a great chance of winning the league over there, ahead of Ajax, ahead of PSV, and they are dangerous. So Roma, like Juventus, haven't always been a lot of fun. They're happy to grind things out, but they've been keeping clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet in 2023. It's looking like a proper Mourinho team.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the fact, I mean, you did say Sevilla this season, you know, that could be a good draw for Manchester United, but the fact they've got so much experience in this competition could be advantageous?
I think with some players, and you have got very experienced players in that squad, my concern for them would be, A, they're distracted by the relegation battle that they're still right in the mix with. They got a win over Almeria that gave them a bit of breathing space at the weekend. They didn't play particularly well, but it also brings its own pressure. Sevilla see this as their competition. That's fine. That gives them strength to a certain degree, but it brings a lot of pressure.
Yeah. What about the pressure for Erik ten Hag to win silverware in Europe? It'll mean a heck of a lot to him, and he'll be eyeing up his route to the final right now, won't he?
100%. It's pressure he puts on himself. He wants to win trophies. From the moment he got there, it was all about winning trophies. They've already won the League Cup. He will feel they can go all the way. I think they're favourites, actually,
okay,
given the squad that they have, given the quality they have, given the form that Rashford's in. I don't think they're massive clear favourites, but I would say that they're the team that should be looking at it and thinking we can win this.
OK, so you had said that as well before this draw, hadn't you? You're thinking pretty much the same. It hasn't really changed things?
No, I think they've got a hard route to the final in the sense that they've got Juventus or Sporting waiting in that semi, and they're going to have to play incredibly well to get there. But if you look at the depth of talent they have in that squad, if you look at the impact that Erik ten Hag has had on them, there's no reason they can't go into this with great confidence. Obviously, Rashford's fitness is a big part of it. If he was to be injured, that would be a big concern because he's such a big source of goals for them. And they do give you chances to play, but I think they've got every chance of winning it.
And there could be a chance of Man United against Roma in the final.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Mourinho. I mean, the thing about Mourinho, as Manchester United know, he's a winner. He won the Europa League with them. He's won the Conference League with Roma. That, by the way, Roma Feyenoord is a repeat of last season's final, so that's fascinating for those reasons as well. So, yeah, that will light the fire in Mourinho, the chance of playing United in a final.
So we've got just Manchester United in the Europa League. We've got 2 English teams in the Champions League, in City and Chelsea. West Ham in the Conference League as well, that draw still to be made. We cannot forget about them. So overall in Europe, how many of these English teams do you think could potentially be getting to a final? Have any of them got a really strong chance of winning one of these competitions?
All of them. All of them. Because even with Chelsea, people will look at it and think, well, Chelsea have got an incredibly tough route to the final, and they do, and they're the least likely of the 3 to win a European trophy this season, but they have incredible individuals, spent a huge amount on that squad. I do believe Graham Potter's a good coach. I know he's had a lot of stick, but I do believe that they picked him for a reason. They've stuck with him for a reason. Obviously, it's a very, very hard route to the final for them. I think City have every chance, but we've seen that movie before. We say that every year about City. So there are accumulated scars for them, I think, in this competition. But United have a great chance in the Europa League, and they should see this as a competition that they're favourites in.
You had Napoli as your dark horse in the Champions League. Who would that be in the Europa League?
I'd have to say Sporting, actually, because I've been so impressed with what they've done under Ruben Amorim. This is a guy that's had to deal with losing so many key players. Mateus Nunes, Pedro Porro, Nuno Mendes, João Palhinha went to Fulham. How good's he been for Fulham? So he loses all of these players, and yet still, they've won the Primera Liga a couple of seasons ago, got to the last 16 of the Champions League, and now they're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. He has done an amazing job.
I mean, goodness me, what about Arsenal, who lost out to them last night? So what a missed chance that they had when you look at how the draw has gone now. It
was an opportunity, but I think it's a warning to Manchester United in a way. I don't think Arsenal took it lightly by any stretch of the imagination. But what it shows you is if you're not quite at 100%, and I think they admitted that afterwards, teams can take advantage. I've seen Sporting do it to Tottenham when they went to Tottenham, played with great energy and quality in possession. It was one of their great European performances, I think, last night at the Emirates. I thought they were outstanding. And with guys like Pedro Gonçalves, who can chip a goalkeeper from just inside the attacking half, you've got match winners, really dangerous players. And Marcus Edwards, always one to watch, the former Tottenham forward. He's excellent.
Before I get your predictions on who's potentially going to win, why are these Italian sides doing so well this season in Europe in both competitions right now?
I do think there's an element of coincidence there. I think you always have to look at case-by-case basis. Napoli are just having an amazing season that not a lot of people saw coming. Inter are a good cup team under Simone Inzaghi, but they haven't done so well in the league this season. And Milan as a group, they obviously won the league last season, but they're growing. You know, they are growing as a largely young squad, getting more experience, and they managed to do what they needed to do against Tottenham. I think if Tottenham had been able to find anywhere near top gear over those 2 legs, I think Tottenham would have gone through, but they didn't. You have to give Milan a huge amount of credit for that. OK, come on, let's just put you absolutely on the spot. Who's going to win the Champions League? Real Madrid. OK. Because I've been burned so many times by saying not Real Madrid. Yeah. But I think it's fascinating. I think it's really, really tight, but I have to go with Real Madrid for the experience and the quality that they have.
And just a bit of news on the Champions League. We've just learned a big talking point that we had before. Of course, City going up against Bayern Munich. João Cancelo going up against his former side. We did wonder if he would be eligible to play against his parent club. And yeah, there's no clause to say that he can't, so he will be. So you've got all these reunions as well, haven't you, of manager and player looking out for revenge. That's I guess, good news for Bayern, maybe not so for Manchester City. We'll tell you about that draw in just a moment and go through who's playing who and when. As for Europa League, put you on the spot there.
I think Manchester United are the favourites. I think Ten Hag has shown that he can win cup competitions, and they've got the squad to do it. OK, Kevin, it's been a pleasure. We raced through it, but it's been wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.